To the world, he was just my brother. To me, he was my protector, my only family, until I discovered the secret he buried deep inside. But then, I became the storm that tore his world apart. To the world, he was just my brother. But to me, he was everything. He was the reason I smiled when no one else noticed I was breaking. He was the hand that held mine on stormy nights, the arms that wrapped around me when I had nowhere else to go. My parents died when I was only 6. A car crash. Quick, cold, cruel. And after that, it was just me and Aiden. He was only 16 when he became my whole world. He gave up college dreams, relationships, and teenage freedom to raise me, to protect me. He worked 2 jobs, read me bedtime stories with bloodshot eyes, and never once let me see how tired he really was. I remember the nights we used to lie on the rooftop of our small rented house, the stars our only ceiling. "You'll never be alone, Ivy," he said once, his voice trembling as he wrapped his hoodie around my shoulders. "Not as long as I'm breathing." I believed him. How could I not? Aiden was the kind of brother other girls only read about in books, devoted, selfless, with a quiet sadness in his eyes that only I seemed to notice. When I cried after my first heartbreak at 15, he didn't just hand me tissues, he sat silently next to me, letting me lean on his shoulder for hours. No questions, just presence. He was my protector, my anchor, my only family, and I worshipped him for it. I carried a picture of him in my wallet, called him my superhero in every school essay, and celebrated his birthday like it was my own. We were 2 halves of a broken whole, bound by tragedy, healed by loyalty. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't know, was that behind that warmth, behind the gentle eyes and soft voice, he was hiding something. Something vile. Something unforgivable. Something that would shatter the very foundation of everything I had believed in. But back then, in those quiet years when the world felt small and he was my universe, I would have given my life for him. He knew that. And maybe that's why he never thought I'd survive what was coming. Aiden and I didn't have much. Our house was small, barely held together by chipped paint and silent prayers. The wallpaper peeled like forgotten memories. The floorboards creaked like secrets trying to speak. But we had each other. And back then, that felt like enough. I grew up watching Aiden sacrifice pieces of himself for me, his time, his peace, his future. He never complained. Not even once. He made pancakes for dinner when we couldn't afford meat. He stitched the holes in my school uniforms by hand. He made birthdays magical with cardboard crowns and candlelight wishes. Everyone admired him. To the world, he was the older brother who stepped up when life stepped all over him. A small-town hero with tired eyes and a soft smile. And I played my part too, his sweet little sister, full of light, clinging to the only constant I'd ever known. But then, the cracks began to show. It started small. A missed phone call. A locked drawer in his room. A strange number on his phone with no name attached. He brushed everything off with a laugh or a hug, and for a while that was enough. Until it wasn't. Because then came the nights. He'd come home late, sometimes past midnight. His knuckles bruised, jaw clenched, and eyes hollow. "Aiden, what's going on?" I asked once. He smiled like it hurt to even pretend. "Just work stuff, Ivy. You don't need to worry." But I did worry. I started waking up at night to the sound of hushed voices outside his door. I'd press my ear against the wood and hear words like shipment. "They're watching, and keep her out of it." I wanted to ask questions, but I was afraid of the answers. Then one evening, everything changed. He came home, shirt stained, hands shaking. "What happened to you?" I asked, grabbing his wrist. He yanked it away. Hard. I flinched. Not because it hurt, but because for the first time in my life, his touch felt cold. His eyes darted to mine, suddenly filled with guilt. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean, I just," he exhaled, his voice trembling. "I just need you to trust me, okay?" Please. I'm doing this for us. Us. That word used to bring me comfort. But now, it felt like a cage. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust that he was still the Aiden who used to braid my hair before school and carry me when I fell asleep on the couch. But something had changed. And deep down, a whisper had started inside me. A whisper that said, he's hiding something. Something that could destroy us both. It was a Thursday. I remember because the rain had been soft all day, tapping the windows like a lullaby. Aiden had left early that morning without saying goodbye, which wasn't unusual anymore. But this time, something told me to pay attention. That drawer in his room, the one he always kept locked, was slightly open. I don't know if he forgot, or if part of him wanted me to find it. My heart raced as I stepped into his room. The air smelled like his cologne, peppermint, and smoke. I hesitated for a moment, my hand trembling before I pulled it open fully. Inside were papers. Stacks of them. Some torn, some printed, some stained with what looked like blood. And then there was the phone. Not his regular one. A second phone. Hidden beneath the folders, wrapped in a cloth like it was something sacred or shameful. I turned it on. Messages lit up the screen, coded texts, addresses, names. And something that made my stomach twist. She suspects nothing. I've kept her in the dark. Just like you said. The sender's name was just an initial. D. I dropped the phone like it burned. My mind raced with questions. Who was D? What didn't I know? And most importantly, why would Aiden lie about me? I reached back into the drawer and pulled out a photo, one I'd never seen before. It was of my parents. Only, they weren't alone. Aiden was in it too. But he looked different, older than I remembered him being when they died. And next to him was a man I didn't recognize. The back of the photo had a date scribbled in red ink. 2 years before the crash. But that wasn't possible. Aiden had always said he was at summer camp when it happened. That he hadn't been there. I sat on the floor, clutching the photo like it could explain everything. But it didn't. It only shattered what little truth I had left. When he came home that night, I didn't speak. I couldn't. He looked at me and smiled, the same soft smile I had once found comfort in. You okay, Ivy? I nodded. Because what else could I do? I had no answers. Only questions. And fear. That night, I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't feel safe in the house we built together. I didn't feel safe. With my own brother. I stopped sleeping after that night. The silence between Aiden and me grew thicker, more tense. I went through our old photos, memories we'd frozen in time, looking for cracks I had missed. And they were there. Always there. The way he never spoke about our parents. The way he avoided certain dates. The way he never let me near that drawer. But the storm truly began the day I visited Mrs. Holloway. She was our neighbor for years, an older woman who used to babysit me when Aiden was working double shifts. I hadn't seen her in months, but I needed answers desperately. I brought her cookies. She brought out old tea. When I asked about the photo I'd found, the one with my parents, Aiden, and that strange man, her face drained of color. You found that picture? She asked, almost in a whisper. I nodded slowly. Who's the man standing with them? The one with the scar above his eyebrow. She hesitated, then spoke words I'll never forget. That's Daniel Crane. He was your father's business partner. And Aiden's biological father. My stomach dropped. What? I breathed. Ivy. She placed her hand over mine, gently. Your mother. She had Aiden before she met your dad. Daniel wasn't a good man. Controlling. Dangerous. Your mom left him and married your father. They raised Aiden together, like he was theirs. But Daniel came back into the picture a year before the accident. My heart was racing now. So Aiden knew? She nodded. He knew everything. I heard them fight about it. Your parents. Your mother wanted to keep you both safe. She was terrified Daniel would hurt you. I left her house in a daze, heart thundering in my chest. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. Aiden wasn't just my brother. He wasn't just my protector. He was the son of the man my mother feared most. And the photo in the drawer wasn't just a memory, it was a clue. Suddenly, I saw it all in a different light. The late nights, the secrecy, the blood on his shirt, and worst of all, the message. She suspects nothing. He wasn't just hiding the truth. He was protecting someone. Someone who had no right to be protected. That night, I waited until Aiden fell asleep. I crept into his room with his second phone in hand. My hands were shaking, but I was beyond fear now. I went through the texts again, tracing them back, message by message. One phrase repeated again and again. The inheritance is almost in place. She'll never know the truth. Don't let her remember what happened that night. That night. The night of the accident. The memory hit me like a thunderclap. I had always thought it was just a blur, sirens, shattered glass, smoke. But now, flashes returned. Aiden screaming. My mother crying. A man standing in the road. And then, darkness. I had been remembering wrong all along. The accident wasn't just an accident. It was a setup. And Aiden knew. I couldn't breathe. I sat on the floor of Aiden's room, my chest heaving, his secret phone still glowing in my hand. The memories were rising like bile, sharp and choking. I remembered the smell of burning rubber. I remembered the sound of my mother screaming, "Get her out, Aiden. Get Ivy out." And I remembered something else. Aiden's voice. Not panicked. Not afraid. Cold. Focused. He had stood there as the car crashed. I saw it now, clearer than ever. He hadn't been in the house like he claimed. He had been there, on that road. Watching. And then, darkness had taken me. Until now. I stumbled to my feet and rushed to the bathroom. I barely made it before I threw up everything inside me. The betrayal was physical, like poison in my blood. I stared into the mirror, my face pale, eyes wild. My brother, my Aiden, had lied. Not just about where he was. Not just about who he really was. But about everything. The crash hadn't just taken our parents. It had taken the truth. And he buried it in my mind, shoved it so deep I convinced myself it wasn't real. He made me forget. He made me trust him. He made me love him as my only family, all while hiding the fact that he was the reason I had no family left. I returned to his room and dug deeper. In a locked folder on the second phone was a file labeled Transfer Authorization. It was a legal document. The inheritance. My parents' life insurance. Everything they left behind. It was supposed to come to me when I turned 21. But instead, it was being funneled to someone named D. Crane. My heart stopped. Daniel Crane. Aiden's father. The man my mother had run from. The man who should have never been anywhere near us. And yet, Aiden had handed him everything. The documents were signed. The account numbers confirmed. He had stolen the money meant to secure my future and handed it to the man who tried to destroy us. I couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't cry. All I could do was whisper the same words again and again like a curse. You let them die. Because he had. He let them burn. Let them scream. Watch them go up in flames, so he could become the hero in my eyes. The savior. The brother who stepped up. But he wasn't my savior. He was the reason I needed saving in the first place. I left the house that night. Walked for hours until the stars blurred through my tears. And that's when something inside me broke. Not the part of me that loved Aiden, but the part that still wanted answers. Because now, I didn't need answers. I needed revenge. When I walked back into that house, I wasn't the same girl who had left. I wasn't Ivy, the broken sister. I wasn't the orphan searching for comfort. I wasn't the girl who needed saving. I was the storm now. And storms don't cry. They destroy. Aiden was in the kitchen, casually scrolling through his phone, like our lives weren't built on the ashes of my parents. Like he hadn't just handed their blood money to the man who ruined everything. He looked up and smiled. Ivy, he said. I was starting to worry. I smiled back. A soft, hollow smile. I just needed some air, I whispered. He walked toward me and pulled me into a hug. His arms wrapped around me like they used to when we were kids. And I let him. Because now, every lie he told was a rope I was going to hang him with. Over the next few weeks, I became someone else. Sweet, quiet, trusting. I let him think I had no idea. I laughed at his jokes. I watched movies with him. I let him braid my hair like he used to. And while he relaxed, while his guard dropped, I plotted. Every second we spent together, I watched him. The way he checked the hidden phone. The way he smirked when he thought I wasn't looking. The way he looked at our parents' picture like it meant nothing. I gathered everything. I copied the files, the messages, the transfer logs. I made backups of the videos he thought were deleted, one in particular where he was on a call with D. Crane, laughing about how easy it was to manipulate me. She's too soft. Always was. That's why they chose me to survive. That line? It stayed in my veins like ice. Then came the final piece of the plan. His birthday. He always loved attention. Always wanted the world to believe he was the perfect big brother. So I gave him the celebration he craved. I invited his friends, his colleagues, even Mrs. Holloway. I told him I was going to give a speech. He looked so proud, so smug. I always knew you'd come around, Ivy, he said that morning. We're all we have. I smiled and said, I know. And then, the night came. He stood at the center of the room, charming as ever, his arms slung around my shoulder like a crown of lies. I walked up to the microphone, took a deep breath, and smiled. I want to thank my brother, I began, voice shaking just enough to sound sincere. For everything. For being there after our parents died. For raising me. For loving me when I had no one else. Everyone clapped. Aiden beamed. And then I continued. And I want to thank him for teaching me how to spot a liar. How to survive betrayal. How to dig up the truth. Even when it's buried under fire and blood. The room fell quiet. I pulled a flash drive from my pocket. And I played the video. The call. The laughter. The truth. Every screen in the house lit up with it. His voice. His confession. His betrayal. And then, the photos. The real documents. The inheritance theft. The cover-up. Gasps. Whispers. Horror. He turned to me, pale and trembling. Ivy, he said. What did you? I stepped back. You called yourself my protector, I said, voice cold now. But you were just the executioner in disguise. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. Because now, they all knew. The room exploded into chaos. Guests murmured. Phones came out. Mrs. Holloway collapsed into a chair, tears in her eyes. Aiden just stood there, frozen, humiliated, and stripped bare in front of the very people he had fooled for years. And I didn't flinch. I watched him the way a storm watches a city it's about to level. His mouth opened. Closed. He stuttered. That's not what it looks like. Ivy, please. You're twisting things. I stepped closer, quiet but lethal. No, Aiden. You twisted things. You twisted our lives, our past, my love for you, and turned it all into a weapon. He reached for my arm. I pulled back. For years, I said, louder now so everyone could hear. He made me believe he was the one who saved me. But the truth is, he's the reason I needed saving in the first place. Then I turned to the guests. He gave our parents money, everything they left for me, to the man who abused our mother. The man she ran from. He planned the night they died, covered it up, gaslit me, made me believe I was safe with him. The crowd was in shock. Whispers turned into accusations. Someone shouted for him to explain. Another asked if the police should be called. And then? He ran. Literally. Out the back door, down the steps, into the night like a criminal on the run. But I wasn't done yet. Because exposing him publicly wasn't enough. Not for what he took from me. I filed charges the next morning: fraud, inheritance theft, conspiracy. With the evidence from his phone, the lawyers barely blinked before taking the case. The funds were frozen. His assets were seized. And Daniel Crane? An arrest warrant was issued within the week. But Aiden had vanished. Gone underground. The media storm that followed painted me as a tragic hero. The poor orphan girl raised by her lying brother. Headlines read, "Orphan outsmarts brother who stole her inheritance. Revenge or justice?" The sister who brought down her own blood. People called me brave. They didn't know bravery had nothing to do with it. I hadn't done it for the money. Not for the attention. Not even for justice. I had done it for my parents. For my mother, whose last words were screams. For my father, who died trying to shield us. And for the girl I used to be, the one who thought love meant loyalty. But revenge? Revenge needed one final chapter. So I waited. Waited for the moment Aiden would resurface. And when he did, I'd be ready. Because he didn't just lose his reputation. He lost me. And I was the only person who ever truly loved him. But love isn't what he deserved anymore. He deserved the storm. The one he created. It took 6 months. 6 months of silence. 6 months of hunting shadows. 6 months of waiting. Not as his sister anymore, but as the storm he taught me to become. Aiden had vanished like a coward. Changed his name. Crossed borders. Thought he could outrun what he'd done. But the thing about ghosts is, they follow you. And I was the ghost of everything he buried. He was found in a rundown apartment in Prague. Pathetic, thin, hiding behind curtains and fake identities. But I didn't need to be there physically to destroy him. The final blow wasn't my presence. It was the package I sent to every person in his new life. His employer. His landlord. His neighbors. His new girlfriend. Inside, a full dossier. Photos of the forged inheritance papers. Voice recordings of his conversations with Daniel Crane. Psychological assessments from the trial. Screenshots of him admitting to letting our parents die. And at the very end of the file, a video of me looking into the camera. This is Aiden Wolf. He was my brother. He was my protector. And he was the man who watched our parents burn alive. He played the hero in my story. But now, the story is mine. He didn't just lose his family. He lost his mask. And now the world sees him for what he truly is. Within days, his new world crumbled. He lost his job. His name was flagged internationally. His girlfriend left him in disgust. And his father? Already rotting behind bars, screaming Aiden's name in betrayal. He called me once. I let the phone ring. Then I answered, just once, and whispered, "You broke me. But now, I break you piece by piece." And I never answered again. Now I live quietly. The money is mine again. But I don't flaunt it. I use it for healing. Therapy. Safe homes for girls who have no one. Legal aid for kids manipulated by the ones they trusted most. Because I know what it feels like to be loved by the devil in disguise. And I know what it means to survive it. People still ask me, "Do you regret it? Do you miss him?" And I smile, soft, bitter. I miss the brother I thought I had. But he never existed. And I don't regret turning his heaven into the hell he tried to put me in. He made me the storm. But I chose where the lightning struck. And now, he lives in the ashes of the life I burned down, just like he did to mine. Because sometimes, The only way to heal is to make sure they never do.